everybody. Thank you so much for coming to my talk. I hope you've been having a really good time at the conference so far. If you can't hear me in the back, please give me a wave, because sometimes I sound really loud in my own head, but I don't always project. So, like Meg said, I'm Strategy Director at Hallam, and really excited to share the next 20 minutes with you. We've been on a will we, won't we enter a recession seesaw for some time now, right? We've all heard the headlines. We've got Brexit, then we've got COVID, now we have the cost of living crisis. It just seems to go on, and the world is really moving around us, up and down. We're not really sure what's coming. In fact, I just got an email this morning through from the IPA Touchpoints database, and their survey shows that 40% of Britons are struggling to make it on their current salary. So this is going to have a big knock-on effect, obviously, with B2C environments, but we're going to see the same things playing out in B2B. And as marketers, we really sit at this intersection of business and technology, culture, news, entertainment, all of these things coming together. And we have to attract people to the company. We have to demonstrate value, and it's this really weird pivot role, especially when times are tough. So, as Meg said, I spent the first half of this year really talking to 5 different areas of the business to understand what should we be doing in today's challenging times. Just wanted to take you through what I've learned. The first person I spoke to was Serena Humphrey, and she's our finance director. Even in good times, but especially in tough economic times, marketers are trying to protect their marketing budgets. We don't want them to be cut. We don't want things to be taken away from us. And one ally in this can be the finance department if we do it right. So I sat down with her, and the first thing that we spoke about was really finding common ground between these two departments. It can feel sometimes like you have finance on one side that's wanting to control every penny, and then you've got marketing on the other side, and we're really trying to just spend our way into value. But if we can sit down together, and marketing can share what's happening with the marketing strategy, what we're trying to achieve, and finance can share their financial reports and the business challenges that are going on, you start to see areas of common ground where the reports that you bring together, the measurement dashboards, can really start to show the impact of marketing activity on the bottom line, and using the language that finance and the leadership team and the board care about. It's a really important relationship. A second way that marketing can help in this instance is to help educate finance and the leadership team about how marketing works. And what I mean by this is the 2 ways that marketing works. One is to capture the existing demand in the marketplace today, and the other way is by building that long-term demand for tomorrow. If you've heard about Les Binet and Peter Field's The Long and Short of It, that's what I'm talking about here. So marketing works in these 2 ways, and if you really want to up the ante, you can share research that's been coming out of Ehrenberg Bass and the LinkedIn B2B Institute called the 95-5 rule, where at any one moment, only about 5% of your customer base is likely in market for your product. The other 95% will be, but perhaps not for 6, 9, 12, 18 months. Spoke to one person today, their buying cycles, 5 years. So if you spend your entire marketing budget on the 5% who are in market today, completely ignoring the 95% who will come to market in the future, you'll miss out on that mental availability. They won't know who you are when it comes time to buy. And Serena said when she understood this, the long and short and the 95-5, it clicked in her head, and she understood then how marketing budgets should be split. So if you bring this to people's attention, it will help you in your case to protect your budgets. So how do we get started in this? It's really just an ongoing dialogue. So set up that first initial meeting, keep an open mind and an open agenda, share your strategy, look through the financial reports, look for those areas of common ground, and then set up a recurring meeting where you're working through those measurement frameworks. You're identifying how to measure the value of marketing in a way that the business cares about, and you're sharing that thought leadership. And that's how they can be your ally. The second conversation that I had was with the paid media team. So this was Jack Brown and Alex Jackson, both of who have given great talks today, so I hope that you were able to catch up with those two. When times are tough, like I said, marketing budgets often get put on pause or slashed, and advertising can be one of the things that goes. It's dangerous to do that because we are trying to capture the existing demand in the marketplace, and we do want to protect that mental availability for the future. So what can we be doing with paid media to really maintain the momentum that we've got and maybe even pull ahead of our competitors? We spoke about achieving a balancing act. There are two ways that we have to do that. Between today and tomorrow, so again, the long and the short, the message from Jack and Alex was try not to stop spending on brand. It is really important. It can be hard, and you might need to look at the weightings of that and maybe spend slightly less on brand because you need to get profit through the door immediately. So that's the first point of balance, look at your budgets. The second point around balance was this idea of effectiveness and efficiency. These two things can be at odds when it comes to paid media. When you're talking about profitability, you need to be leaning into effectiveness. Which channels are driving the best performance for you? Is it paid search? Is it your social activity? Is it affiliates? Is it display? Go find out what's working well and double down on it. Of course, efficiency with the change in customer behaviors, with buying, purchasing things being delayed or even put on pause indefinitely, you might not be able to achieve the efficiency levels that you want, but you do need to still watch out for wasted ad spend. You do still need to watch out for customer acquisition costs so they aren't getting too high. But when we're talking about profitability, it is about driving that effectiveness. The next thing that we spoke about was creative. I loved this part of the conversation because your creative is important now in two very specific ways. The first one was around resonance. We saw this a little bit at the beginning of the pandemic, right? We all wanted to change our tone of voice. We wanted to make sure that the way that we were talking reflected our customers' current reality. We want to we don't want to come across as tone deaf and be doing a hard sell when they're really struggling. If they're in a B2C setting or B2B, they're dealing with a whole another set of problems and budget constraints. So we really want to make sure that our creative, our messaging, our calls to action, we're adding value, we're recognizing where they are, and we're treating them as human beings. The second way that creativity is even more important is with targeting. So we have these changes with privacy coming through. We aren't able to hyper-target in the way that we used to be, phasing out of these cookies, which is probably a good thing in the long run, but it can make it difficult. If we've done our work correctly and we have our different audience segments and we know what's different between them, our creative can almost act as the targeting hook where we'll put out specific messaging, specific calls to action, specific content, and our audiences will self-select into that so long as we know them, we know what channels they're on, and it's quite a good way to help your creative with the targeting. And then for me, one of my favorite moments was when Alex was saying that if we sacrifice the chance to test and learn, we're going to sacrifice the chance to do better. A lot of times with marketing downturns, we've got about an 11-month window where things are really tough, really tight, and that behavior and those buying habits are changing drastically. That's a lot of time to just let things run without driving experiments and really trying to understand what's happening. So test and learn budgets are really important to keep in place. But this isn't necessarily about going to launch your TikTok channel for the first time or do a massive out-of-home campaign that you've never tried before. Go to the bottom of the funnel, work your way backwards to the top, and do very targeted, specific tests with a clear hypothesis, a clear structure, a clear measurement framework of how you'll judge whether it's been a success or not, and put those tests into place. That's how you can pull ahead of your competitors because even on a good day, sometimes some other brands aren't doing test and learn. So if you do, it can really help. The next conversation that I had was with Carmen, who's our new head of organic. And we spoke about organic as a competitive strategy. Organic is just anything that you don't put paid money behind. And whether that's SEO, whether that's social media, whether that's digital PR, content marketing, these things can act in silos, but you really need a strategy that makes sure that they are join together, working towards a common goal, because that's how you're going to get consistency and familiarity. So you might have multiple teams running multiple channels, but from a customer point of view, it's one brand. You need to be one image, one message, one clear value proposition. So a strategy that ties all these things together builds trust. That's what brings people back. The next bit was going down data rabbit holes. Carmen loves her data, so she recommends spending time in Search Console, in analytics. She recommends the channel data that you have access to. Get it all together and cross-reference. Look for patterns. Look for those trends. Organic activity, it's not a one and done. The landscape is always changing. Customers are always changing. Staying close to the data is how you're going to know what to dial into, what to draw back from. And the last thing that Carmen and I spoke about was really investing in reviews and feedback. Google's released several algorithm updates, and a lot of them have to do with customer feedback and reviews. And this isn't just about customers, it's also about media, it's also about influencers, it could be an industry analyst, it's whoever's influential within your space. You need to be investing in this because that's how you're going to get people, you'll gain organic visibility across multiple channels. You can use this type of content across the entire funnel, and it can really serve you well. Carmen said if she was a business owner, this is what she would be investing in right now. The next conversation I had was with Francis Williams, and so we were talking about conversion rate optimization and user experience design. Once someone encounters that buying trigger, they switch from passive mode into now actively searching for a solution. We use paid and organic channels to bring them to a final destination, which is most likely your website, perhaps an app. And especially now, when our buying habits have been so disrupted and things are so delayed, especially if we're paying money to bring people to our site. When we get our shot, we have to make it count. So we wanted to talk about what can we be doing to make sure that every visitor counts. With the pandemic, our collective understanding of a digital experience, of what a good digital experience was, leveled up. We had to work, play, educate, enjoy life. Everything that we were doing was online. And we've carried over with us now an expectation of what good looks like. So if your company has a digital experience that isn't that great, people's patience is really wearing thin. They aren't going to stick around. It's worth investing in to make sure that you get this right. Francis was talking about how important locality is of providing a solution nearby. We talked about having a website or an app that's more humane, that is more human, and it's all about kind of connecting people together. So technology shouldn't get in the way of that, it should be enabling that. While CRO and UX design, and certainly the tech that powers it all, is all about changes that we're making, there are certain design truths and things about human psychology that just don't change. We all want meaningful experiences. We want it to be fast. We want it to be easy so that we've got our information hierarchy where we can just flow through and find what we need immediately. These are things that we don't want to mess with. We really need to keep consistent. How to get started on this? Well, for Francis, it's very simple. Just go talk to your customers. This could be through analytics, it could be through deep dive interviews, it could be through watching people use your site. But it's really understanding their mental state, what their expectations are, what they're trying to achieve, and then audit what you have. Look at that customer path through your experience and look for those drop-off points. And again, set up your tests quite intentionally, measure the improvements that you're making, rinse and repeat. And the final point, just to bring it all back, when I spoke to Serena, we talked about a holistic measurement framework that is looking at the entire customer journey, and it's really positioning marketing in a way that drives the bottom line and has that language. So I wanted to talk to Ben Wood and Jonathan Catton in our team about how to set up a full funnel measurement framework. The reason that we want to do this is so that we have better data to drive the decisions that we're making. We can make better choices about our strategies and tactics if we know what works. There are a few fundamental things that we have to get right before we can put a measurement framework like this in place. You need to understand the customer journey. So make sure that you've got a really clear map about how people are moving through this. We need to understand those drop-off points between the conversion funnel so that you can, again, work your way backwards up the funnel, start at the lowest point near the conversion, and then improve as you go. Once you have those drop-off points, that's when you can start setting those SMART objectives. So how are you going to make a difference around your awareness? How are you going to move someone through exploration and evaluation? How can you set an objective around conversions? And then it's also about making sure you've got the right attribution models in place. Digital attribution at best would be incomplete. Many times it's inaccurate. So you want to have that as a piece of the puzzle, but it can't be the only thing that you're doing. So media mix modeling, also known as econometrics, is having a bit of a resurgence right now. And there are organizations and platforms who are making it more affordable. But having that kind of view of what's driving pressure on your marketing activity is important. And then running controlled experiments as well, so that you really understand what you're doing. So now you're ready to build your measurement framework. We start with awareness. This is about the attitudes and the beliefs that might indicate what's going to happen in the future. They're softer metrics. It's kind of hard to put a dollar amount on this, a pound amount on this, sorry for the Brits. And so you really need to work with your finance team. This isn't about the vanity metrics that are really easy to measure. You want to understand what's actually driving results for the business. Brand surveys are probably the best way to do this here, where you can look for awareness, you can look for the perception, you can see how it changes year on year, or after you run a campaign if you want to do it more frequently. But you can also use proxy metrics like share of search, like brand search, brand clicks. We get through to exploration and evaluation, and now we're looking at things that are a little bit easier to measure. These are the behaviors that people are taking that are getting a bit closer to the financial value of marketing. There are kind of three buckets that I would put this in. One is audience building. Are you increasing the amount of people who know about you? The next one would be engagement, bringing people through, the next one would be traffic. So are you getting more people to your website? Are you getting more people in store if you've got offline? And then it's engagement. How are they interacting with you? What are they doing on your site, in your store? So having a CRM system in place, whether you're B2B or B2C, is really useful to make sure that you have that really well-rounded view. And then conversion, obviously at the end of the day, it's the sale that we want, but you can track those interim steps along the way. Might be account registration, it might be a request for more information, it could be app installs and then engagement on the way to a sale. So you've got a number of different things that you can be measuring there. But all of it comes together for a full measurement framework that you can take to the board, you can take to your leadership team and show the value of your marketing activity that isn't the vanity metrics that maybe they've been used to seeing, and that's how you start to build out and protect your marketing budgets. So those were the 5 conversations that I've had. It certainly gave me a better perspective of what we can be doing as we move forward in these challenging times that just don't seem to be relenting. So we're building better bridges with our finance team, making sure that that's a really strong business partnership. We are using paid in really clever ways so that we're maintaining momentum and looking for opportunities to pull ahead of our competitors. We're looking to organic activity to do a lot of heavy lifting right now, making sure that we've got a strategy to make it a competitive advantage. And then as soon as we get people to the website, we're making sure that every visitor counts by putting really smart and intelligent tests in place to make improvements with our conversion rate optimization, our user experience design. And we're building out those measurement frameworks that look at the entire funnel from top to bottom and assign a financial value to the activity that we're doing to protect our budgets and make sure that business sees it as a lever that we can pull on for growth. It's an investment. We want them to see the value in that. So I hope that you found a few things to take away there. Thank you so much for spending that time with me. If you see me around and want to ask questions afterward, do, but I hope you have a great time at the rest of the conference. Thank you.